Good evening, everyone. I'm back again. This is another session of another serial killer. When you wake up in the morning, what would you want to do with your life? You want to say you want to be a drug user. You want to be in prison for the rest of your life. You want to be a gang member. You don't, when you wake up, when you're born, you don't know what you want till you grow up. And this is the guy I'm talking about. He, he lives in the States, and of course, I don't really care less about the States. I've been there once and that's it. But who I'm talking about right now is Samuel Mason. Mason was a Revolutionary War veteran, Virginia military captain, justice of the peace, frontier leader, and later figure associated with river piracy and highway robbery. He is best known as the Mason Gang, a notorious gang group active along with lower Ohio River and Mississippi rivers and the late 1800s to the early 1900s. This is the very first person that I'm doing here. So Mason is most famously linked to the Cave in Rock area, a notorious river pirate stronghold along the Ohio River. Born in Virginia, Mason served in a Revolutionary nobly on the western frontier. Following the war, he became involved in regime, region lawlessness, eventually establishing himself as a prominent figure in outlaw circles. His gang was involved in the various illegal associated with oh, so I kind of read that wrong, sorry. Uh, Prominent gang. He was involved in various alleged activities, including piracy and robbery, and he was associated with notorious sites such as Red Banks Cave, Red Banks Cave in Rock, Stack Island, and Natsai's Trace. Mason's motivations are up for speculation, with personal accounts being scared to non-existent, while he while his criminal activities are well documented. It's been suggested that his actions may have by have Irwin by broadly political and economic motivation. In particular, his later resistance to the federal authorities, particular following the Whiskey Rebellion. Whiskey Rebellion is actually basically a war if you wanted to get taxed. So that's probably the first one whiskey got taxed. Domestic whiskey. Whiskey Rebellion of 1791 to 1794. Sorry, I got my head back. Has left some its as lead some to interrupted his post-war activities as part of a broadly anti-government sentiment. This criminal, but provincially a figure of resistance to what he perceived as an overreaching government, overreacting government, particularly in the Revolutionary War era. However, his activities are well known, seen by others primarily as self-serving criminals ventures, and his role in the outlaw world of the frontier continues to hope to shape his legacy. Samuel Mason was born on November 8, 1739, in Norfolk Colony of Virginia, the son of Thomas Mason and mother of Newton. His parental grandfather was George Mason, a second generation of members of the House of Burgesses. Great-grandfather Lemuel Mason was served as a member of the House of Burgesses. Samuel Mason was raised in what he now Charlestown, West Virginia, is primarily a part of Virginia's, according to Lyman Draper in the 1750s. Mason gets his earliest start in crime as a teenager by stealing horses in Colonel John L. Height in Frederick County, Virginia, being wounded and caught by his pursuers. On September 1st, 1777, Captain Mason was wounded but survived an ambush Native Americans near Fort Henry. Most of the men in the Virginia military company perished and died. There's a thing at the beginning or at the end or on the side. How did Samuel Mason die? If it's murder of shot in the head or murder of a tomahawk. So you guess that. Ambush near Fort Henry. Most of the men, as his Virgil Company died during the attack from August 11th to September 14th, 1779. Mason, while at Fort Henry, accomplished Colonel Daniel Brockhead and his 8th Pennsylvania Regiment of the continued army, combined with Matilda troops from Fort Pitt to destroy 10 tribal villages. That's native of the pro-British Seneca tribe to northwest Pennsylvania during the civilian expedition in retaliation for the devastation Iroquois attacks in the Colonel, Wyoming Valley of Cherry Valley massacres. In 1778, in the early 1790s, Samuel Mason moved his family to his Red Banks on Ohio River, now Henderson, Kentucky, where he began his full-time criminal activities. He later settled downriver downriver on Diamond Island and engaged in river piracy. By 1797, Mason moved to the base of his operation further downriver to Cave-in Rock on the Illinois side of the river in the Northwest Territory. The Masons gang had a brief association with the first known serial killer in American Makaja and Wiley Harp. I'll be talking about him later on, as well as Peter Alston. I'll just finish talking about him, Peter Alston, and possibly John Duff, the counterfeiter. Mason and his gang stayed at the Cave-in Rock until the summer of 1799 when they were expelled by the exterminators, a group of regulars under the leadership of Captain Young Mercer County, Kentucky. Samuel Mason moved his operation down the Mississippi River and settled his family in the territory of Spanish Louisiana, now the present-day state of Missouri, and became a highwayman along with the Natchez Trace in Mississippi Territory, now present-day state Mississippi. It was on that Natchez Trace that Mason received his most infamous nickname. He would leave a message after each crime, often in his murder victims, probably stating done by Mason of the Woods in April 1802. Mississippi Territorial Governor William C.C. Claiborne was informed that Mason and Wiley Harp attempted to board the boat of Colonel Joshua Baker between Yazoo, now Yazoo, Mississippi, and Walnut Hill, now Vicksburg, Mississippi. According to Spanish colon court records, Spanish government office arrested Samuel Mason and his men early 1803 at the Little Prairie settlement, now Carterville, in southeastern Missouri. Mason and his gang, including his family members, were taken into the Spanish colonial government in New Madrid, Spanish Upper Louisiana Territory, along with the Mississippi River, where a 3-day trial hearing was held to determine whether Mason was truly involved in the river piracy, as he been formally accused of the crime, although although he claimed he was a simply farmer, which I said the first time on the other one. He was simply a farmer who had been mangled by his enemies. The particular presence of $7,000 in currency and 20 human scalps around in his baggage was the damning evidence that just convinced the Spanish he indeed was the river pirate. Mason and his family were taken under armed guards to an Orleans, to capital of Spanish Lower Louisiana. $7,000 and 20 scalps in a bag. Yeah, well, if you can't get caught with that, well, then you're lucky. Most of the people would get caught, like this guy. So, Lowerman, where the Spanish colonial governor ordered them to hand over to the American authorities in the Mississippi territories as all crimes that had been convicted of appeared to have taken place in American territory or against American river boats while being transported up the Mississippi River. Samuel Mason and his gang members, John Sutton, and one of his many liars used by Riley Harp, and James May, alias of Peter Elston, overpowered the guards and escaped with Mason being shot in the head. During the escape, one of the 1803 accounts claimed Captain Robert McCoy, the commandant of New Mindrad Roth, page 247, was killed by Mason during the escape, but in reality, McCoy actually died in 1840 and was neither crippled nor killed by Mason. America Territorial Governor William C. Claiborne immediately issued a reward for recapture, premeditated Wiley Harp and Peter Elston to bring Mason's head on an attempt to claim the reward money. Whether they killed Mason or whether he died from his wounds suffered in the escape attempt, he never been established. Sutton and May were recognized and identified as wanted criminals, while Riley Harp and Peter Elston, they were arrested and tried in a U.S. federal court, found guilty of piracy, and hanged in early 1804. Samuel Mason died in 1803. So read upon this, and comment, share, like, comment, and I like to hear from you guys. It is important. I like to you know at least have more subscribers, more likes. I like to have somebody at least tell me something. Okay, thank you. Bye.